5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, welcome to your Media Mosh Podcast. I am your host, Shane Beauregard, coming at you with all your news, reviews, and previews I want to watch on your television and your streaming services. Hope everyone had a great weekend coming at you the very last day of August. And I just have to admit and be upfront, I am out in my sweat box of a studio right now. And it's almost a little bit past middle of the day. My kids are home, so we're going to see how this episode turns out. But I fear that the longer this day drags on, I won't be able to get an episode out. So as I promised last week, so let's see if I can keep this going. And if 2020 could not get any worse, we had the passing of Chadwick Boseman. They ran Black Panther last night commercial free on ABC. I totally forgot about it. I zoned it out. But man, that one kind of hit me. And I think it hit a lot of people just because it came out of left field. It was such a surprise. I remember seeing some video or some pictures of him and how thin he was, and a lot of people were saying he was fasting, he was whatever. I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you. I just thought maybe he was preparing for a role, whatever his next role was. And to find out that he's been battling colon cancer for 4 years, never said a word to anybody, and put work in. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, what a guy. What a guy. What a career cut short. Very sad news. And I think how young he was, too, kind of hit. Not only pair that with it just came out of left field, no one knew. Not even his castmates for the Avengers. They were all blindsided as well. Just a huge loss to the world. Not only Hollywood, so rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. So yeah, 2020 just keeps fucking sucking. There's no other nice way to put it. It just is what it is. So a little bit of news I have for you, which I ended up watching a lot of stuff this past weekend. The VP was gone, so it was just me and the kids. And I was the most awesomest parent this weekend because I let him play Minecraft and Roblox for like 10 hours straight so I can get stuff done. And in between getting stuff done, knocking out movies. Unfortunately, I didn't really watch any good movies this week, as you'll find out. So Mulan, it's on Disney streaming right now. You can pay for it, but they did announce if you wait till December, you can watch it for free. Also, for all you Altered Carbon fans, which I was a huge fan of Season 1, I enjoyed Season 2 as well. It started kind of getting off course in Season 2, but it's a solid show. Don't wait around for Season 3 because Netflix axed it. That's right. It was Netflix's most expensive show, and they canceled it this past week. But if you haven't seen it, I would recommend watching the first 2 seasons. It's no cliffhanger. Spoiler alert. There's no big cliffhanger at the end of Season 2. So I do mind that they canceled it, but it's not one of those shows that leaves you in the lurch or limbo figuring out what they're going to do next. So, coming this week, I don't know why I'm so excited this weekend. Besides The Boys coming out and the Avengers new video game for PlayStation 4, I'm going to have myself a great weekend because I'm going to be kid-free myself this weekend, which is fantastic. And The Boys, someone correct me, but I could have swore they just dropped the whole season last year. So you can watch it all at once. Maybe I just imagined that. But they're actually dropping weekly episodes. Which I'm spoiled now. I don't want to wait a week between episodes. The last time the show that got me to do that was Game of Thrones. Yeah, I just want to binge it all in one night. But no, I'm going to have to wait. So that's coming out this weekend. I cannot fucking wait for that show. Oddly enough, if you were watching Netflix on your televisions and not your laptops or other handheld devices, they added a shuffle button under your profile, which I was like, that's really weird. So every time I go on now, I hit the shuffle button to see what it would land on, and it 9 times out of 10 lands on a Netflix original show. Like it landed on Lucifer. It landed on that show about those 2 girls that become bounty hunters, teenage girls. So I just thought it was an interesting concept, because who's going to hit the shuffle button and just watch whatever they land on? It's not like music. But anyway, I thought that was a quirky little feature that Netflix added. So as we move into September, The shows that I'm looking forward to, and I'll get more into detail as the dates get closer, but this week you have the Netflix series Away with Hilary Swank, who has done Netflix work before. I thought it was a movie. It's an actual show. Season 1 starts this Friday. Mid-month, you have The Devil All the Time with Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Jason Clarke. And then towards the end of the month, you have Ratched, Season 1. Obviously, it's the prequel to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I had no idea that was even a thing. But Ryan Murphy's helming the project, who did Glee, American Horror Story, and the one I liked that he did and got canceled after Scream Queens. So I like that show too. So, and this one stars Sarah Paulson, who is usually in his projects. I'll give it a go. I'll see what direction they take that in. So now let's see what is the top 10 Netflix streaming movies and shows today. Number 10, you have the Netflix original animated show Hoops. You have the kids show. It's a Netflix original. Number 9, Coco Melon. Why did I say melon like that? Coco Melon. Excuse me, folks. The sweat started to get to me. Number 8, the Netflix original show The Umbrella Academy. Number 7, the Disney show Bunked. Number 6, Netflix movie Project Power. Number 5, I don't know why this is trending 5. This is another one of those weird movies that's currently trending. Frozen Ground. Came out several years ago. Stars Nicolas Cage and John Cusack. I've never seen it. I probably will end up watching it at some point this week. Number 4, Million Dollar Beach House, Netflix original show. Number 3, I Am a Killer. That's a Netflix original documentary. Number 2, Netflix original show Lucifer. And number 1, with a bullet, the Netflix original show Cobra Kai. That is your top 10. Now, let's turn our attention to 15 years ago at the box office. 15 years ago, this past weekend at the box office. Number 5, Wedding Crashers, bringing in $6.2 million. That was in its 7th week of release. Number 4, Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg, bringing in $7.8 million. That's the 3rd week that was in release. Number 3, the Wes Craven, Rachel McAdams, Red Eye, bringing in $10.1 million. That was the 2nd week in release. The Brothers Grimm with Matt Damon and the late Heath Ledger, bringing in $15 million. That was newly released. That was the 1st week in release. And number 1 for the 2nd week in a row was The 40-Year-Old Virgin, bringing in $16.7 million. That is your box office wrap-up from 15 years ago. Now let's get into what I watched this week. I'll be honest with you, I was all over the map, as you'll see. The first one is the 2016 movie Better Watch Out. This one's on Amazon Prime. Sitting at 89% critic score with a 66% audience score. It's kind of a holiday home invasion horror farce. Let's say that. You have Virginia Madsen and Patrick Warburton. They're in it for a couple scenes. And then you have Levi Miller, who I'd never seen before. Ed Oxenbould. And your lead female, Olivia DeJonge. And I recognize those two, and they were both in the movie The Visit by M. Night Shyamalan. So it was kind of cool to see them back together in this movie. So again, essentially you have a home invasion movie set around Christmas. You have Olivia, who's playing Ashley, is Levi Miller, plays Luke, and Ed plays his best friend, Garrett. So Ashley is leaving. She's going to school in Pittsburgh. She's spending one more night babysitting Luke. Luke has big plans. He's in love with her. And his plan is to make a move on her while he can, even though there's like a 5-year age difference or 4.5, whatever they mention. And him and Garrett, this is where the home invasion kind of gets a little... I don't even want to talk about it because it is going to spoil the movie. I think it's definitely worth a watch if you're into those home invasion horror / comedy movies. It takes 2 turns that I don't really see coming. And they do a good job with it. So, obviously, Ashley spurns Luke's advances, and that's how this movie kind of unfolds in the wrong way for Ashley, and Garrett goes in for the ride. So what you have to do with this movie sometimes, it does fall in some of the tropes of horror, and Luke, I just wanted this motherfucker to die. That's all I wanted, and I guess he did his job, this actor who portrayed Luke. And at first I was thinking, wow, he took a really wild turn there. And I'm like, well, they don't really go through the background of his character, so it doesn't really bother me as much as it did as I was watching it. But the thing I had a hard time believing was how Garrett would go with what Luke said. That's all I'll say about it. It's a big cat and mouse game, home invasion movie. Some pretty funny scenes. They do a Home Alone scene. I'll leave it at that. And it was actually kind of funny. But it is a little bit of a twisted movie. And I had way more fun with this than I thought I would. Patrick Warburton, the two scenes he was in was good. And Virginia Madison, and she was okay. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. She was okay. But the kid who played Luke was one of the bigger assholes that you'll see on screen. And again, that just proves that he's doing his job. So I thought this was pretty much well written, well directed. They do some different kind of camera angles and camera work during this movie that I really liked. Like when someone's falling down the stairs or someone gets knocked over a chair. I like that. So I had a really good time with this movie. And again, I just chose it based on the cover. And it's crazy because if I should do a snapshot of my Amazon page, because you know how they always have movies, Netflix does it too, based on what you've watched or what you like. I mean, I have a string of just fucking insane movies that no normal person would watch. I think I'll do that. I'll do a snapshot. Yeah, snapshot. There you go. Snapshot of my screen to kind of demonstrate the level of movies that I end up watching. And Amazon's paying attention because they put it in their algorithm and spitting out movies to me. So this was one of the movies they suggested. I agree. So maybe I'll dive into some more that they suggested. Moving on to my second movie. This is the Hulu original, The Bridge, sitting at 24% Rotten Tomatoes. See, this one stars Vince Vaughn, Skylar Gisondo, Dexter Darden, and Eduardo Franco. Mr. Franco is an American Vandal, season 1 in the movie Booksmart. Dexter Darden, I've never seen. He's in all the Maze Runner movies. And you'd recognize Skylar. He was in Vacation, the remake, and he was also in the Santa Clarita Diet. And I noticed with this kid, he's kind of getting typecast because he kind of plays the same role in everything I see him in. And it's fine. I like him. But, yeah, he's getting a little typecast there. And Vince Vaughn is... I loved him in this movie. It's old-style, sarcastic Vince Vaughn. This movie is set like somewhere, I think it was 2032, where all drugs and alcohol are illegal. But much like The Purge, you get one day to go totally ape shit and do whatever you want to do. But you can still get arrested for breaking the law. But you can get drunk and do all the drugs you want. So this movie, when I was watching, it kind of reminded me, it's like a blend of The Purge with Superbad. And it had its moments. I laughed out loud like a couple times. I'll give it that. And you had Skylar's character, Griffin. Dexter plays Hags, and Eduardo plays Andrew. And it's your typical rom-com teenager movie where Griffin likes Vince Vaughn's daughter. Vince Vaughn's the principal of the school. His daughter. They were best friends since they were little kids. And he's always gun-shy about asking her to prom, so this is his chance. And his buddy Hags is doing everything he can to get him to ask this girl to prom. Hags wants to join this competition during, I almost called it The Purge, the binge. And if you win, you're kind of like immortalized forever because he knows he's not going to college. His buddy Griffin's going to Brown. He's not going to college. And Andrew's kind of the weird, quirky, eccentric kid that no one hangs out with. They kind of take him along. And it's your typical adventure movie as you're trying to get to the location. Shit always pops up and happens to him. Vince Vaughn finds out his daughter's at this big party. And he spends the movie trying to track him down. Again, I liked his character, classic Vince Vaughn. But I thought at the end this movie went a little over the top. The writing is really not that good in this. Again, it had a couple good jokes. A couple things fell flat. But I was like, man, for a teenager high school movie, like the last competition, the last thing they had him do in the competition was called the Scarface. So they had a big mound of Coke, like in Scarface. And they had to see how much Coke they can do in like 2 minutes. And if they fucked up or they lifted their head, they had to do their best Al Pacino impression. And I don't know if it's because I'm 43 now and not 20. I was like, wow, should they be doing this much drugs in a fucking teenage movie like mounds of Coke like that? I know, that's such an old fucking guy thing to say. But, yeah, it was... Listen, it's not a bad movie, but it's not a good movie either. It's like right in between. Like, if you want a better movie, go see Superbad. Or really any teenage movie party scenario. I know there was one or two I was thinking of, but Superbad is the one that kept popping in my head. So I gave it Sorry about that. My kid just walked in, so I had to escort him out of the sweatbox. Where was I before I really got off the track there? Yeah, I forgot to give you my final grade for Better Watch Out. I'm going to go ahead and give Better Watch Out a 3 out of 5 for me, just based on how much enjoyment I got out of that movie. Going back to the binge, there are other teenage drug movies that are notches above this movie, but still, it was slightly entertaining, and because it made me belly laugh 2 times, I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5 for me for the binge. Now, the last one I was looking forward to this movie, it is The Tax Collector, which is sitting at 18% critic score with a 71% audience score. And this one got a lot of shit when it came out. And I'll address that in a second, but it also, since Suicide Squad, it seems the in thing to do is shit all over David Ayer. Just shit on David Ayer no matter what since Suicide Squad. Was Suicide Squad great? No. But to me, it was at least a little halfway over entertaining till they got to the third act and it just fucking fell apart. You all know what happened there. But for 2/3 of that movie, I was fairly entertained. And there are some nice action pieces in that film. And then this came out, and he's stealing brown culture. He's doing this, and Shia LaBeouf's doing this fucking Chicano accent, and it's all over the top. Let's stop shitting on David Ayer for one, because overall, if you go back and look at his body of work, there's more positive than negative. Like Harsh Times with Christian Bale and Jay Hernandez, solid movie. Sabotage with Arnold was just okay. End of Watch is his best movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. And you also had Fury with Brad Pitt, Shia, my boy John Berthnell. Street Kings with Keanu Reeves and Forrest Whitaker and Chris Evans. Solid watch. So really, he doesn't shit the bed too much. At minimum, his movies are entertaining. I'll say that. So let's turn back to, I'll address Shia's character here. And David Ayer tried to explain it, saying he was a kid that grew up in this Hispanic culture. So growing up, or when you immerse yourself in the culture, you're going to pick up some verbal. Your accent might change over time a little bit. Now, it is noticeable in this movie, but it's not over the top. I never found his mannerisms or his voice accent over the top. There were certain words or phrases that, yeah, you can see it kind of heavy there, but when he would talk normal, it was slightly noticeable. So, one, not a fucking big deal. I cannot stand this. It's like, what, only Hispanics could direct Hispanic movies now? And I read some of the reviews after this movie, and it was like, they basically said the same thing, like, stop shooting this kind of stuff, and you're putting Hispanic culture in a bad light. I mean, how many Italian mob movies have there been, right? I never heard that complaint before, like, you're putting Italians in bad light. Some of this shit probably goes down. I definitely know, like like the cartels in Mexico probably do some of this shit in this movie. This movie ran for an hour and a half. You have Bobby Soto playing David, Shia playing Creeper, George Lopez in this, Jimmy Smits, and Kanjo. I'm just going to call him Kanjo. And basically, David and Creeper team. David runs and picks up all the tax money from all the gangs that he has to govern in L.A. and gives it to his uncle, George Lopez, who then takes care of it for Jimmy Smith. Whizzer is his name in this movie. And Creeper plays David's enforcer, until Kanjo enters the scene. He's an old drug kingpin from like 10 years ago. He went into hiding. All of a sudden, he's coming up and trying to gobble up all of David's territories or gang money. So he's trying to take over the collection business. That's the basis of the story. The problem I had with Creeper, I did like his character, but you never really got to see him do any creepy shit, if you know what I mean. He was intimidating in some scenes, but they never let him loose. And I thought they were going to, because he actually wanted to during the movie. He's like, let me cut loose and go get this guy. So for such a build-up with this character, yeah, it was kind of a wasted opportunity. I thought they could have done more with that character. And honestly, of all the characters Shia has played in his career, why he decided to get this character name permanently tattooed on his body, I have no idea. But I did like the persona. I did like the look. I just wish they gave him more to do. And spoiler, like whatever happens to his character arc at the end, I was kind of pissed off with, because again, you never got to see him at his do any dirty shit or take guys out or like whatever. like for David. So what kind of bothered me, and they kind of hit you over the head with this. David, the main character, he's all about family and family first, and he believes in God, and he's always praying, and that's fine. I'm not coming down on that. But when Kanjo enters the picture, they hit you over the head with Kanjo is like the devil, and David is like God or Jesus, and it's like good versus evil, and they had to remind you of that fact. Ugh, just too much ad nauseum. And the turning point for me is when Kanjo invades David's campground or wherever they're stationed at, headquarters. It got fucking cartoony there for a little bit because there is a ritual scene that Kanjo performs, like he's doing voodoo and sacrificing chickens, and he slit someone's fucking throat and having the blood poured over him, just to emphasize how evil this guy is. I'm like, unnecessary. That was just really unnecessary. So from that point on, I was like, oh, okay. But it did kind of correct itself in the last scene where David, you think he's out for the count, and he gets help from a source that I did not see coming, and I'm not going to spoil it. So he gets some more people to help him out, and finally they have their big confrontation. And even during the last confrontation, Kanjo's like, you can't kill me, man. I'm powered by the devil. I'm like, ugh, come on. So there really was some good action scenes in here. It was a fast-paced movie. I just wish they would have used Shia a little bit more. And actually, George Lopez, for the few scenes he was in, he was actually good. I wish they did more for him to do. Jimmy Smits was only in one scene you actually saw him in. He wasn't in any other scene. So, I mean, is this as bad as what the critics are saying? Like, should be trash, like worst movie of the year? No, just fucking negative. It's a little bit disappointing. And to be honest, if I had to rank this all in David Ayer's catalog, it probably would be at the bottom. It would be below Suicide Squad. But it was watchable. Cartoony, over the top, yes. Hits you over the head with the good versus evil concept, absolutely. But I like David Ayer's, and I'm not going to apologize for it. It was an entertaining movie. It's not as bad as what the critics are saying or people are saying in general. Now, if you want to go see like a good Mexican or Hispanic movie kind of with these same tones, just go check out American Me. That's James Edward Olmos, who actually directed that movie too. That came back out in like 1982. Then, of course, you have Colors, and then Blood In, Blood Out. All fantastic movies in the same vein as The Tax Collector. But I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Again, it was a very watchable movie until they hit you over the head too many times. But that's it. That's 2.5. Maybe I'm being too generous, but again, based on what I've seen throughout my lifetime, it's not even the worst movie I've seen this year. So don't. I'll wait till it goes to a streaming service. I paid $6.99 for it to rent it for the night. And if I saw this in the movie and paid $11, I would probably be a little upset. But it's really worth like a $2.99 rental or wait till you get it for free. So that's my advice. And that's it, folks. That's my show. I hope everyone has a great week. Stay cool, stay safe, be well. Go check me out on the Facebook page, Media Mosh. Go check me out on the Twitterverse, @Shane Media Mosh. More importantly, go to the Apple Podcast Store, download me, share me with your friend. I guarantee you they'll thank you for letting me into their lives. And then circle the wagons all the way around to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out Mr. Argue Myself, Chris Friedel. 3 different platforms for 3 different types of content. Until then, folks, get caught up. Get caught up in the mosh.